Hey everybody, this is Herschel Froome from High School Top 200 and number 21 on the national rankings of the top 25 is De La Salle College. Now, De La Salle College, and I've said this before, and I'm probably never going to stop saying it because I believe this is 100% true, is that if there was no recruiting and you just had to take the players that were within your areas and within your boundaries, I think De La Salle will have the best first 15 consistently every single year. For some reason, De La Salle have the best talent all the time. And I'm not even too sure why. Like, I don't know what it is, but it just seems to be those boys from that area. They just seem to be really good at rugby. They just seem to be naturally talented and naturally gifted in what they do on the field, and yeah, they just find a way. I mean, there's been a few boys that have been recruited, that have transferred out of De La Salle and have gone to other schools, and most definitely, if they were still in at De La Salle will be a whole lot better. But even with the team that they have now, they are still ranked really high, and so that's kind of where my point comes from, is that like some boys that have transferred to other schools, them leaving still makes them a top 25 ranked team in the country. Um, for me, it starts. To me, it starts with Eric, who's their captain, Eric Hing. He is the reason why I think they're going to be so successful this year. Um, because he is so talented in the way that he is durable in other positions. Like he'll be playing at center. He can still. I think he'll be a really good halfback. He's a really good fullback, and it's just the way that he adapts. He'll be with Paul, and Paul will be at second five with Eric at center, and Paul is a massive runner. He's a big runner, um, kind of a league style runner as well. Really good at crash ball, and carries a lot of players. It takes a lot to kind of put him down. But then Eric is the one that sort of, after that phased play on the crash ball, he will be able to set up Sophie Maka, who's the other kid that I really like a lot. And Sophie is to me, a New Zealand secondary school player in the making. I think he'll make it next year, if all goes well and he carries on with the hard work that he's already putting in now. Sophie is going to be one of those kids that is going to be a New Zealand secondary school player thought of after this year. I mean, even if he makes Barbarians, that's going to be massive too. But Sophie Maka is probably the biggest help to Eric right now, in that position. Antonio at first five is going to be the other guy that puts it all together with Robert Graydon at halfback. But having Antonio out there controlling everything, and he's such a sharp player, Antonio's only year 12 as well. And so him and Sophie are going to be back. But those two, with Eric, just mix really well, and with the other players that they have around them. Antonio has a good control and a good and he puts a good pace on the game and for the way that they play as well. He never really panics or looks like he's really under pressure. Even when there's been moments where you think that he's going to mess up, or where players like especially last year, because he was starting as a year 11, you would expect him to mess up in certain situations where there was a lot of pressure, and then he just didn't. He was always calm in the way that he set things up, and he was quick to notice when they weren't gaining ground, or they were going backwards and not really making any kind of ground. He would either shuffle it around, or put guys in different areas to make plays off runs and things like that. And so Antonio is kind of like is a big massive reason why they're so successful right now. And then you have the threat of Sophie coming from fullback and inserting himself into different parts of the field, standing behind Eric or sometimes standing behind Paul and Antonio, and then sort of making his way out to the back, or things like that. And even the way that he shifts in the backfield from one side of the field to the other, covering all these kick balls downfield. Like, he's just really quick to make a move and to read and dictate and predict where everything is going to be going off. So those three, Eric, Sophie, and Antonio, to me, are going to be a massive reason why this team is going to be successful. Now, in the forwards, Joanna is probably like... Joanna is a young year 13. And Moana Nu. Yeah, Joanna Moana Nu is like... he's a young year 13. He doesn't get a lot of credit because he doesn't really look like a prop. This year they've moved him to a hooker. But he is so fast. He's got quick footwork. He's strong. He's got a really good passing game. And I'm not too sure why rep teams don't look at him. I mean, he was in the under-17s Blues for 2 years now, I think. But then sometimes it doesn't translate, and maybe it's just a difference in opinion of terms of coaches or what they see, what they have seen of him, things like that. But I think he's a bigger deal than people actually think. If he comes back next year, it's going to be massive. I think he's going to be a massive asset to De La Salle, and also to maybe his selections in New Zealand secondary schools as well. And I mean, maybe it's his body type, because he kind of looks like he's unfit, but he plays the full game. And he plays it still making runaways and breaks even within, deep within into the second half. And so having a guy like that on the field is massive. And I just don't see why people don't make a bigger deal, or especially selectors and scouts don't make a bigger deal of what this kid can actually do. Kitiona is the lock that I was really impressed with when I saw them play against Westlake Boys, and Kitty was challenging everything in the lineouts. And he's not overly tall. Like, I think he might be maybe 6'3". I don't think he was taller than me, because I'm 6'5". And I don't think... And I always kind of judge how tall a kid is by how I see them against me. Like, sometimes I don't know what tall is sometimes. If you're taller than me, then I think you're tall. But if you're not taller than me, then I don't... it's kind of like one of those weird things. And I don't think he was taller than me, but he looked about 6'3", maybe 6'4". But when he was in the air, he was making them adjust their shot, adjust their throws. He was making them overcompensate for how high he was getting up in the air. He was getting in front and getting off the ground faster as well, which was like a big deal to me. Like, I like that kind of thing where locks can beat your own man into the air and exactly where you're supposed to be putting the ball, and then it's stolen. And Kitty was doing all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, he was making breaks on the field too, and he was breaking tackles and, getting a good 7-8 meters every time he kind of ran the ball. I really like Dominic Va'a. He's another one that I thought was like huge for them. Dominic is kind of like one of those guys that is a no-nonsense kind of dude. I think that he's going to be an important part of holding those bigger teams at bay, because he hits hard and he plays He plays the game faster than he looks. And because he's a big kid, like, you don't know, and you don't think he's that fast, but he's actually pretty quick. He's pretty quick to make the tackle, and then his tackles are calculated where he puts himself in a better position once completing the tackle to get up on his feet and be able to get to the ball straight away. And so I like kind of things like that. And at first glance, you just think, nah, he can't move that fast. And then he kind of does it 2 or 3 times within a sequence of like 15, 20 minutes. And you think, oh, shoot, that's a lot of pressure. And so, like, that's what I think Dominic Vata brings to this forward pack for De La Salle. Antonio Silva is probably like another kid that you might want to look at, and how big he is and how stocky he is, and just the impact that he can have on the game. De La Salle is going to be one of those unpredictable teams within the 1A, and they're gonna go through some hardships just trying to figure things out. But right now, I see them as the 21st team in the country, and a strong team at that, and you cannot take them lightly at all. That's my review for the De La Salle College. Peace.